I went to get coffee and they didn't have the dark roast. And they said, we have the holiday blend. And I just groaned. I said, how could you replace the dark roast with the holiday blend? Especially when it has hazelnut. I mean, for crying out loud, hazelnut.
Hello, welcome to Chai Across Generations with Shankar and Nikhil. Each episode, we focus on a different cultural and generational topic that means something to us, and we try to highlight stories to better understand ourselves. Shankar, how are you? It's been a little while.
Yeah, it's been a while, Nikhil. As you know, we've been off the air, so to speak, for some time now. And I've been the one who has not been able to meet up because my mother was in hospice and she recently passed end of November. And as you can imagine, that was a pretty heavy experience. But I would say more like a roller coaster because there was also all the love and gratitude and support, but also the loss and how it comes back from time to time. So it was, I would say, an intensely emotional experience in that sense, right?
Yeah.
And of course, since then, we've had the 13-day Hindu ritual mourning, and I was grateful that we could observe it as to the maximum extent that we could where we are, and it was both satisfying and also healing for me. And well, now I'm back, and it's actually been lovely to reconnect with you and chat and sort of try to move forward, because I know that something like this doesn't have any predefined timeline, and I'm just going to accept that and be with it as best as I can.
Yeah. Well, thank you for sharing that, Shankar, and I'm so sorry for your loss. You know, we had chatted a little bit in the last few weeks, but it was, I guess it was one of the reasons why we took some time away, and we did some interviews in the meantime. So if folks
Right.
haven't heard those, we had some great conversations with Mukund and Abhijit and Vivek and Ajanta that folks can check out. But I do want to say I'm grateful to be in the space with you again. I feel a little bit like a kid on a playground, ready to to play again after a little bit of time away. And I hope you know you have the support of our community, this Chai Across Generations community, as you continue to heal and grow.
Yeah, thank you so much, Nikhil. All your text messages and phone conversations have been really helpful. Really appreciated that. And I'm very grateful that I had all the support, that you talked about. People we've met through Chai Across Generations have reached out and written, and that's been really sweet as well. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I'm glad that you were able to do all those nice interviews and keep the show going for a bit. And
Yeah.
it is good to be back. Yes.
Yeah. And, we wanted to share a little bit of where we've been. So we'll start with a little bit of life updates, maybe, and then we'll head into the core of the episode, which will be around 3 things we like and dislike about the holidays.
Yes, I was
How does
going
that sound
to,
to
to
you?
mention that you've had your own moment of personal busyness.
Yes. Well, I would say we've both had some moments of busyness.
That's true. That's true.
Um,
Do you want to go first since I put you on the spot?
Sure, sure. I mean, can I share for both of us?
Of
Or
course.
okay,
Yes.
so we both got engaged since the last episode we did together, which is kind of insane when you think about it.
Yes. And
that
not
would
to each
happen
other.
within, not
We
to
aren't
each
engaged
other.
to each
Thank you
other.
for clarifying. Yeah.
Right.
Thank you. Yes.
Right. So this is a multi-generational sort of shared experience with partners, each in our generation, right?
Yes. Yes. And I'm really glad that you had that moment of, I
Yes.
think, celebration, especially around a time when you were also grieving the loss of your
Mm.
mother. Um, but yeah, that has been an entirely different experience in a lot of ways. I think I'd be curious to hear how it was for you, but getting engaged was an adventure and it was surreal, but also very happy and very. I feel very transformed in a lot of ways. How would you say it was for you?
Yeah, no, thanks so much. Yes, so I was grateful, and I was fortunate enough that we both got my mother's blessing before she passed on, and so we got engaged early November, and what an amazing timing, given that mom passed barely 3 weeks after that. So we were very fortunate to get her blessings. And you're right, it was such an interesting, sort of one of the most high positive moments in my life, and then followed by the loss. But I would say yes, it is definitely transformative, and it really made me appreciate sort of the blessing that I was given in meeting this person, and actually being able to acknowledge that um, that gratitude and excitement and happiness and joy and looking forward to the future together. So absolutely transformative. Yes.
Yeah, yeah, I totally agree with you. I think there's something about when you get down on one knee and you make yourself very vulnerable and say,
Mhm.
ask someone to marry you, and they can make or break you in that moment.
Mhm.
And in both of our cases, they said yes, and it's just an amazing feeling, right? And to, yeah, to choose someone on a big life decision and to be chosen is incredible. And to your point, I'll be similar to you. I'd say the way that someone can make you feel, in terms of feeling loved and trusted and safe and being able to deepen the bond, that the bond feels different after an
Mhm.
engagement. So I'm
Absolutely.
glad that we got to kind of experience that around the same time.
Yeah, and this time I chose to mark it as a very special and personal experience, because other ways in which we celebrate our union are often more public
Mm,
experiences. And so that's why this was very special to me, is that
yeah.
it's something that it was very private at that instant, other than the photographer and a few people who were in on on the event. But then, there will be more public celebrations of that union.
Yeah.
But this was very special. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. So, it's just funny. And you went first. I mean, not that we planned around each other really, but you got engaged first. And so I was able to ask for your advice and get your help. So thank you for helping me.
Well, you more than upped the ante after that one, I gotta say. So I was grateful. I don't know how much advice I provided, but I was grateful to share my experience. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I
Yeah.
think one of the main things you did say that I would maybe share with any listeners who
Mhm.
may be in a similar position is at the end of the day, it's about the two people and it's about sharing that moment. All the rest of it, like how you do it, who else is there, what you say or don't say, is nerve wracking, can be nerve wracking, speaking from some experience here, but at the core of it is that. And focusing on that, it can help with some of the stress that might come along with planning something like an engagement, because it really is a beautiful moment and just a moment that changes everything in the best way.
Yeah, and congratulations to you, Nikhil, and to both your families for
Yeah, thank you.
celebrating that, and also for sharing with me and just allowing me to be a part of your happy journey.
Yeah, thank you, and congratulations to you as well and your fiance and both of your families. So yeah, I guess we had to do engagement across generations at the same time.
Yeah, that is a pretty wild coincidence.
It
This is not
is.
planned. It was complete happenstance. Yeah.
No, it wasn't. Yeah.
Right.
Well, so that's a little bit of what's kept us busy in the recent months. But we're back, and our plan is to continue to do episodes. I think kind of at the same pace that we have been. We may flex up or down sometimes. What do you think, Shankar?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Okay,
Yes.
perfect. So that's our intention, but of course, life can intervene sometimes. Um, and let's talk about today's topic then, which is the holidays. It is mid-December. Christmas is almost here. New Year's is almost here. A range of other holidays have are either just ended or on the horizon as well. Um, we thought we would do three things we love and three things we hate about the holidays, and
Yeah.
we'd start with what we love.
Yeah, this is kind of inspired by, I don't know how many of you are old enough to remember David Letterman. He used to have these top 10 lists, which were
Yeah.
really funny. So this is vaguely inspired by that. But we thought we'd keep it short and keep it to top three. And we thought we'd cover both bases, right? What we like and
Yes.
what we don't like. Yeah.
Yes. Let's
So
do
do you want
it.
to go first with your uh, top third most top thing you like about
Sure.
the holidays, Nikhil? Okay.
Sure. Well, let's do it. So we're gonna do these in, like you said, reverse order. So we'll start with our number three, then our number two, then our number one. Um, so my third most liked thing about the holidays are holiday themed drinks and media. Now I think we'll have a good discussion here because I have a sense that holiday themed drinks is actually on your dislike list.
You had a sneak preview of that. In fact, that's what inspired our attempt to go at this, right? Yeah.
Yes,
Yeah.
that's the only thing I
Yeah.
know about your list. But I figured, so. But to clarify, for me, the what I like about the holiday drinks, it's when they're thoughtfully done, right? I don't like all of the sugar on top of sugar on top of sugar drinks, like the peppermint mocha with two shots of mocha, whatever else. I
And
don't need that.
sprinkles.
Yes, and sprinkles. I don't need that, but I like. Um, I tend to get a chai when I go to Starbucks, and I know it's different than our typical chai, but at Starbucks it's the best thing I think there is. So during the holidays, they do a gingerbread oat milk chai, which is quite delicious. A little bit of gingerbread on top of your chai is actually nice. I also just like seeing those red cups, the Starbucks
Right.
cups, and I don't go very often during the holidays, but just seeing someone have them around is quite amazing. I don't know, it's like very festive.
Yeah. My daughter says that Starbucks has legitimized the idea of having dessert for breakfast,
That's well
which I
said.
think is a good way to put it.
Yeah.
So, are you ready for my top third most like? Is that right?
Yes, let me just add one other
Okay.
piece, which was just around the media piece too.
Please.
So
Yeah.
also
Sorry,
this
we
goes
missed that.
to shows and music
Right.
as well. I like the festive feel. I'll put on a Christmas jazz playlist while I'm doing work during the season or watch a show, a holiday themed show. I just like that, the vibe, I guess, for lack of a better word. So I put
Right.
that as my number three, all in one.
Nice. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. We have some similarities in our lists. Okay.
Oh, really? Okay, let's hear it.
So I'm
What's your
going to
third
go
one?
with my third from in the things I like, right? So the idea of giving, I think it does somehow inspire that, especially in the West, and I really like that. I think that's something which I would myself like to practice more year round, um, but at least it reminds me that it's there, and so it's pretty simple. You know, there is a lot more activity around charities and things like that. And I think that's
Yeah.
one really nice thing you see with the holidays.
Yeah, I really like that one. Do you think that's changed at all over the years?
I think there's a lot more online giving now. In the past, it was more, bell ringers outside grocery stores and things like that, and food drives. But I still think there's a lot of that in the local community. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so now we'll do the third thing that we don't like, the third most thing that we don't like. Do you want to go first on this one?
Okay, sure. So, The third thing I don't like is early shopping prompts
Mm.
everywhere I go, in the malls and in all the stores, and how all the regular merchandise gets cleared out and seasonal stuff comes out, and I
Yep.
can't find what I usually need to get. And I'm being constantly reminded and badgered into thinking about holiday shopping, which I'm
That's a good
notoriously
one.
bad at.
The
Yeah,
consumerism, yep, and the
right.
how you're told to start shopping early, right? Or how you're incentivized
Exactly.
to.
And it gets
Yeah.
earlier and earlier every year.
Yeah.
I think in the old days it was maybe they gave us a grace period between Thanksgiving and Christmas, but now barely is Halloween over and then there's Thanksgiving and then there's Thanksgiving is over and then there's Christmas up there. So
Yes.
that drives me
Yeah.
nuts.
See, it's interesting. I actually like the fact that they're close together.
Oh, really? Okay.
Like I like the fact that you have this like flurry once you hit Halloween. It's just everyone's in holiday mood for the next couple of months. But I agree with you when it's also when you double that with expectations around shopping and buying,
Right.
that's when it becomes a little less fun.
So what's yours now?
So my number three is travel and bad weather. Um, this year I don't really have to travel as much because my family and I are local, but in past years I've lived cross country from where my family was. So there was always a 4 to 5 hour flight to take home. And there's also the question of do you go home for Thanksgiving and Christmas?
Yeah.
And if that's a cross country flight, that's quite a big trip.
Yeah.
And in general, I don't mind the travel, but when that is also compounded with bad weather,
Yeah.
right? Snow or your flight is then delayed or whatever it might be, that can be not fun. It can be nasty at
Yeah.
times, right?
Yeah.
And
It's
and people want to get
nerve-wracking.
home for the holidays. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, so true. At one point, I actually told myself I would not travel over Thanksgiving ever,
Yeah.
and I'm just going to stay put. People are going to come and visit me or not. We're going to do it local. But I completely agree with you. And it's not practical, of course, to have self-imposed travel bans for a lifetime. But I hear
Right,
you.
exactly. That's a good rule of thumb. Okay, I should consider that in the future.
You could just say I'll cook. So you got to take on the burden of cooking,
Oh, okay. That's
right?
fair. Yeah.
I'll host. I'll cook. I'm willing to slave in the kitchen, but you're coming to me.
All right. Well, now I know if we ever do a Chat Cross Generations holiday, I'll be coming to you and not the other way around.
Yes. Yeah. Okay, where are we now? Now we're back to the like, right?
Yes. Number
And
two
am
on
I
like.
leading with the second thing I like?
If you want to, yeah, go ahead.
Oh, sorry. Did we? Oh, we haven't switched. Right, right, right. It's your turn. Second thing you
Okay.
like.
Okay. Um. So next we have my number two on things I like, and my number two is quality time with loved ones. I want to emphasize quality time here because, a lot of time can be spent around relatives, friends, or family, but it can just be kind of less meaningful. And sometimes
Right.
it can feel obligatory. And that I don't like as much. But when you have those moments or days or hours of real connection, quality time, laughs, meaningful experiences. For example, my dad and I got into a bit of a ritual pre-COVID where we would go to a basketball game each year over the holidays. We both like basketball, and so that was a tradition that I loved. And I look back at those fondly. And maybe now that we're coming out of the COVID era a little bit, we may continue that again. But that was quite meaningful. Yeah, so quality time with loved ones is my number two.
Lovely. I did want to share a generational perspective on that.
Please.
So, like you, I also did not very much enjoy being dragged around to like whole bunches of relatives and stuff, right? But this time, as I watched my mother pass on, right, I realized how much effort she'd made in her life to keep in touch with people and how connected she was. And in contrast, how less connected I am and how much less effort I'd made to keep up with extended family. And, we were talking about, our Surgeon General Vivek Murthy's thing about loneliness and all that, right? And it suddenly hit me like a ton of bricks that, okay, maybe this is what she was trying to teach me all along. Is it was such a big deal for her to stay connected, regardless of, sometimes, whether the interactions were necessarily, I thought, always pleasant or not. But she just wanted to be in touch.
Mm,
And I think she was a lot less judgmental than I am of the connection itself. And it was just a connection for the sake of being connected itself,
right.
which was a pretty interesting learning experience. So I'm just throwing it out there. I'm not there yet. I don't think I'm as connected as my mom, or maybe I'll never be, and maybe we're just different kinds of people. Maybe I'm more introverted, or I value my alone time more, or whatever it is. But that's something I am learning from that generation, is
Mm,
their drive to stay connected with family. And I'm
yeah.
be the first to admit that I've not been as good, but maybe the new year is the time to make a resolution and
Yeah,
change.
there you go. Yeah, that's a really beautiful point. And it makes me think about maybe as we go generation to generation, we've gotten a little bit more siloed, or we have more interaction with fewer people. I would guess that's probably true for the past at least two or three generations.
Right.
Um, and maybe there are trade offs to that. But I don't mind the size of the gathering. But yeah, you're
Hmm.
less likely to have quality time when it's
Yes,
too many people. That's the trade off, I guess you
that
make.
that I do agree. Yes, yes,
Right.
I agree with that. Yeah, yeah. Having some
What's
sort of
your.
a meaningful chat, even if it's a short one, but it should be
Yeah.
meaningful and connecting. Yeah,
Right.
I'm with
Yeah.
you there.
Right. What's your number two?
So my number two thing I like now, right?
Yes.
So this is actually similar to yours. It's good music. It's good holiday
Mm.
music. So I tend to like a lot of the soul classics, and
Mm.
Otis Redding is one of my favorites. And the holiday is always an opportunity for me to listen to his White Christmas, and
Okay.
then he has
Yeah.
another one, Merry Christmas Baby.
Okay.
So,
Yeah.
so my daughter and I, it's kind of our holiday tradition to listen to those two songs.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, we got to listen to those two. We have to have Otis.
That's wonderful. I'm gonna have to check it out.
Yeah,
Otis Redding, you said?
Otis Redding. Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Okay. I don't know if
yeah.
I've heard him before. Um, okay, so that's similar. You and I both like to listen to good holiday music around this time.
That's right.
I like
So
it.
over to you.
So now we're over to number two thing we don't like.
Yes.
So my number two thing that I don't like about the holidays is the societal messaging or expectations around where we should be. And because the end of the year, the holidays are a time to kind of come together, meet with people you might not have seen for years, meet with families you might not have seen for years, and there is an expectation, or there are questions around where are you, right? Where
Right.
are you in your life, professionally or relationship wise or otherwise?
Right.
And I don't think it's anyone's intention usually, but it can come off as judgy. And what I specifically wanted to say is there. So I was watching these Christmas shows recently. I was looking for a Christmas show, and you won't believe how many Christmas shows are based on the idea of like a female spinster,
Mm.
right? Like a woman. So I was looking at Netflix series Christmas shows, and there's a show, a Norwegian show. It comes up as one of the big hits. It's called Home for Christmas, and it is a woman who is not in a relationship,
Right.
and her family is kind of expecting her to be in a relationship. And so the whole series is about her telling her parents that she has a boyfriend and her finding a boyfriend, right? That's the whole
Uh-huh.
series. It may be a good show, but like that premise is a little bit hard to swallow. And it turns out I found another show on Netflix
Uh-huh.
called I Hate Christmas. And so I started checking that out. It's the Italian version of this Norwegian show. The exact same premise. The exact same premise,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So this idea of like especially the gender expectation around women spinsters around the holidays is something I
Right.
noticed in media when I was looking for a show this year. And I don't like that. Like, why aren't we more
Yeah.
open to just, hey, let's just celebrate where we are in our lives right now and where we want to go next?
I really like that you raised that. Yeah, I hadn't thought about it, but you're absolutely right. Yeah. There's all kinds
Yeah.
of expectations. societal
Oh
expectations as to
yeah.
how you should be celebrating the holidays, right?
Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
And there's
And
even career-wise coming up as I was going through school, are you going to be a doctor or an engineer? You're answering all those questions, and I was not doing medicine, um,
right,
or really engineering. I was doing some computer science, but was still figuring out which way to take my life. And so there's
right.
a lot of like societal expectations, I think, that pop up around this time.
And it's a good point. Yeah, this is maybe a good thing to keep in mind. Accept our family and friends as they are over the
Yeah,
holidays. Yeah.
so well said. What's your number two?
So now this is my second least liked thing. Is that right?
Yes, yes. I think we may have
Okay.
chosen a slightly like convoluted way to show our list, but
Tr-
I like it.
Trust me to make something more complicated than it needs to be.
I like the
Trust
suspense
me.
though. The suspense is building.
So, my second one is actually also music related. It's endless, smooth elevator music in stores. Like,
Oh, yeah.
yeah, yeah. Those holiday jingles that get in your head, like the earworms, and they won't get out. And then you
Right.
keep, um, and yeah. So, bad music is as off-putting as, well, I guess you shouldn't call it bad music, but it just sounds very canned and repetitive. And
Right.
that gets on my nerves.
Yeah, that's a good pick, especially the repetition.
Right.
When you hear it
Yes.
over and over again, or if you're in the same store and you hear it over and over again,
Yes.
you feel like you're in a time loop or something. Have you run into a lot of that this season, or is this more a general critique?
No, I try to scrupulously avoid some stores during the season,
Oh, that's
and now we
funny.
can do so much of our shopping online, which is really nice in some ways. Right.
Right.
But yeah, but this is more from the past, right?
Yeah. Okay, I like that one. That's a good pick, and I think a lot of people would agree with you on that one.
Yeah. So now drum roll. Is this now?
It's number one. Yes.
Okay.
Number one thing that I love about the holidays
Uh-huh.
is the generosity of spirit, and this goes to your point of giving as well.
Right.
So I like the idea that the holidays are kind of wrapped around the idea of being generous, and spending time together with family and friends. But there's also, like you said, the part about donating time and money where we can, really getting into touch with what do we value and having the time to spend with the people and the things that we love. Uh, and I did want to also mention, just from the donation piece, if anyone is looking for donations, we had some guests come on. Every time we have a guest come on, we ask them where to donate, so we can share those in the show notes as well. We had some great charities um, mentioned on the show this year. But I like this idea of like, the structures are set up for you to hopefully be generous with your time and energy. We're off work on those days, Christmas and New Year's, and sometimes hopefully in between. And we can spend it in a way that hopefully gives back and revitalizes our families and our communities.
That's lovely. Yeah. Yeah. Thank you, Nikhil. That's really well said. So we have fair amount of overlap in our some overlap, right?
Okay, let's hear your number one.
Lives.
Drum roll.
So drum roll. So mine is actually the holiday get-togethers. So getting together
Mm,
with families, celebrating. That's the top thing I like. Um, Sometimes getting to see people whom you haven't seen all year, but also close family whom you have been seeing through the year. So I love that. I like the idea of being getting people together and the fun. Yeah,
yeah. And I guess they're all coming to your house for dinner, right? If you're hosting.
that's right. You got that right. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Okay, I like that. It's similar to my second one about quality time with loved ones too. So I think we're in
Mhm.
agreement here.
Now we have to end with the top thing we don't like, right?
Yes. I can't wait for this one.
You're first, right?
Okay, I'll go first. So the number one thing I don't like about the holidays: expectations from others on how you're spending your time over the holidays. And I'd say a lot of this has to do with family in our South Asian community, because when you come home, there is an expectation that you're going to spend time with family.
Mhm.
And we've talked about this a little bit before, but time with friends, when you say, hey, I'm going to go see my high school friend or my college friend who's back in town, this is the only time everyone's back in town.
Right.
there's a Tamil word, right? Uh, Bonama, like, do you have to
Right.
go?
To go. Yeah.
Right, do you have to go? And
Right.
it's almost like it's a negotiation. Like, hey, I'm gonna go see my friends, but do you need to go?
Right.
Don't you want to spend time with us? And I think finding that balance had been a struggle for me in years past. This year, actually, with my folks, I talked to them about Bonema and this whole
Uh-huh.
idea. Uh, and it was a really refreshing conversation where I kind of said to them, hey, I kind of wish you all would say, we trust you.
Right.
Go do your thing, go have a good
Mm-hmm.
time, and then come back and let's have meaningful time together.
Yeah.
And if I were to draw a theme between some of mine, it's the idea that more time is not necessarily more meaningful or quality time.
Mm-hmm.
So I think so. We talked about how do we create more quality time as a family, and then also have time with friends, right, or other loved ones.
Yeah.
And that is me railing against the thing I dislike, which is just the expectations that you're going to spend a lot of your time with family, right, and like you're always negotiating time with friends.
Yeah. Thanks for sharing that, Nikhil. I think it's a good point, and I hadn't given it enough thought. Maybe being uh, now more in the parent role and having graduated out of the child role, it's a good reminder. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't see you
That we
saying
were the
"bonama" to
ones.
your daughter, so I'm not so concerned. But maybe.
Hasn't happened. Hasn't happened yet, but not saying it may not happen in the
Yeah,
future.
yeah. Okay. Well, I'll ask her to let me know if you ever say
Yes.
"bonama."
Yeah. Yeah. No, I think that as our children age, to give you the other side, right? The other perspective.
Please,
Um,
yeah.
this is feeling that, oh my God, they're moving away. And you do want them to have their own wonderful life. But I think you start to really look forward to and treasure the time you have together. I
Yeah.
think some of it might be that. But I agree with you that we have to trust. And it's just a natural process. We have to
Yeah.
respect. Yeah.
Right. And I don't think the fix is necessarily, let the kids do whatever they want either, but something about, well, what do we care about over the holidays, right? Like, I
Right.
want to have a good time with you
Right.
doing these few things or
Yeah.
doing more than a few things.
Right.
It's almost just that expectation setting of this is what I want to do
Yeah.
with you. These are really meaningful to me. I also understand you have other things or people you might want to
Right.
see. How do we make that happen too? I think that is such a healthy dialogue to have over the
Yeah.
holidays.
The conversation and the communication.
Right. Yeah.
I love it.
Versus, I think, just maybe staying at home with family just for the sake of staying at home
Right.
is
I
what I'm
get it.
coming
No, I
to.
think you raised a very good point. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What's
Yeah.
your number one thing that you dislike?
Okay. This is, I think, the thing that started off our episode, right? So I went to get coffee the other day, and in full disclosure, I'm still a chai, of course, chai cross generations, founding member, but
Yes.
I do like coffee too. So, and it has nothing to do with my getting engaged recently, or maybe it does. I went to get coffee, and they didn't have the dark roast, and they said, "We have the holiday blend." And I just groaned. I said, "How could you replace the dark roast with holiday blend? Especially when it has hazelnut. I mean, for crying out loud, hazelnut.
Oh
I mean,
gosh.
how could any real coffee drinker tolerate that?" So I said, and the worst thing is, she said, it's darker than the light roast. So I got it. Okay. And
Mm,
then I felt so cheated. And I think that's the gripe and the vent that started off this.
that's amazing.
Yeah. Yeah.
How
Yeah.
how was the drink?
It was okay. All right. To be honest, I might be over exaggerating. That it wasn't too bad, but it was nothing like the dark roast that I normally
Yeah,
get.
I
So
see. So is the dislike mainly about the holiday drinks themselves, or is it just about the hazelnut?
it's about the random displacement of my favorite drink by the holidays. Right? It
I hear
seemed like
you.
such an
That's frustrating.
outrage, right?
Yeah. Although I will say to counter that, sometimes you have really good seasonal products. Like
Right, right.
you know, there's a Trader Joe's hot chocolate that is incredible.
Okay. Okay.
Uh, but that only comes around this time, and I haven't even seen it this year, but it was around last year. Um,
Yeah.
but to your point, that's maybe builds on your point because I think they had this Trader Joe's hot chocolate, and I think they may have discontinued it now. So it's
That's right.
displacement
See,
even season to season.
right. So you can get upset after the holidays. Like, where's my
Yes.
favorite one?
Yep, that's a good point.
And so what you hate about the holidays is that they go away. Right.
Right, exactly. Holiday displacement, number one thing
Right.
that we don't like.
That's funny. It's so good to laugh about all this, Nikhil.
Yeah, it is. It is.
Yeah.
And, I'd be curious to hear from our listeners as well what they do or don't like.
Hmm.
There's a whole cadre to choose from, whether it's anything we've mentioned.
Yes.
But I really hope that, our listeners and you, Shankar, have a wonderful holiday season um, with family or friends or however we choose to spend it. No expectations from this podcast on how folks spend their time.
Yes.
Um, and we will do a couple of wrap up shows coming up as well
Hmm.
to wrap up the year. So
Sure.
we'll try to wrap up some of our favorite moments, recap those moments, and some of our favorite funny memories or funny anecdotes. And so we welcome our listeners too. If you have, moments you really liked, conversations you really liked, funny things that came up on the podcast, please send them our way to either of us or to some of our official accounts.
Yeah, absolutely. And yes, Nikhil, I want to join you in wishing all our listeners a very, very happy holiday season, and to you as well, and to you and yours. And we will not judge if you go to bed at 8 p.m. on New Year's Eve and choose to wake up really early with your resolutions, right?
Is that what you do?
Uh, Sometimes, yeah.
There's nothing wrong with that. Yeah, it's
Right.
a very wise way to start
So,
the new year.
yeah. And of course, you can always, find us on our Instagram page or email us at chaiacrossgenerations@gmail.com. That Instagram page is Chai Across Generations. And subscribe to our podcast, wherever you get your podcasts. And you can also look us up on our YouTube channel.
Yep. Also, Chai Across Generations on YouTube. And if you haven't had a chance to give us a quick rating on, Spotify or Apple Podcasts, wherever you get your podcasts, we'd greatly appreciate that. Maybe we can consider that a holiday gift. It's how we get other folks to find us, and it's quite helpful. So wherever you are, however you're celebrating, happy holidays. Hope you all have a great time, and we'll see you all next time.